From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OSU update. Our extended look at OSU basketball. I'm Jenny Carlson here in studio with fellow columnist Barry Trammell, and Nathan Ruiz, OSU beat writer, joins us from Stillwater. He was actually just at practice today as the Cowboys get ready for this weekend game against West Virginia. Nathan, the Cowboys, you report, talked some today about NCAA tournament hopes, which I know a lot of Cowboy fans are probably wondering if that is a real thing. Is that a reality? What did the Cowboys have to say about that today?
You know, it's definitely something they're trying to make a reality. It's something that guard Lindy Waters said they talk about every day in the locker room. Just what kind of legacy do they want to leave? Do they want to be a team that is now that goes to a second straight NCAA tournament? Obviously, Tuesday's loss against Baylor did a lot to hurt the Cowboys' hopes, but it's conversations they're having. Coach Mike Boynton is trying to make sure that they don't get too far ahead of themselves, that they're focusing on today. But at the same time, there is a balance to it. There is trying to balance those long-term goals with the game they have Saturday against West Virginia. So, but they know if they play well for a 2-week stretch, they can put themselves in a position and really change their outlook for the season. Well,
Barry, that's right. I mean, there is still enough basketball left that this team can play its way into the NCAA tournament. I think we kind of all think that even an 8-10 record in the Big 12 could get you in. And when the Cowboys, when you consider they already have wins against Kansas and Oklahoma on their schedule, it seems like probably 8 wins gets them into the NCAA tournament, or at least there's strong consideration for them in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and after winning at KU, they were 4-6 in the Big 12, and if you go 4-4 down the stretch, you think, hey, they can get in the NCAA tournament. But then the Cowboys lose at home to Baylor, and that's going to be one of their easier games. Baylor's a second division team. You're playing in Gallagher-Iba. You failed to get it done. So now OSU has to go 4-3 down the stretch, and that's with 4 road games, 3 home games. 2 of the home games are Kansas and Texas Tech, the top 2 teams in the league. A road game at West Virginia. It's just, I mean, this is an Oklahoma State team that has proven that it can play at a high level. We saw it when they beat Florida State in Florida. We saw it when they beat Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. But they've also shown that they are not very consistent, even in the friendly confines of Gallagher-Iba. Going 4-3 down the stretch is going to be very difficult for this team.
Nathan, as you think about that up and down nature of this season, you know, a team that goes to Lawrence and wins at Allen Fieldhouse and then turns around and really has a struggle to even be in the game against Baylor, what do you chalk that up to? I mean, we've talked before, even on video, about, you know, the fact that this team doesn't have a ton of depth. Is that it? Is it something else? What do you put your finger on when you think about just the vast differences that we've seen in this team from one game to the next?
Well, I think Barry touches on it when he mentions consistency. This team just hasn't been very consistent. Mike Boynton pointed out today they really haven't had a single player who's played well for a 2 to 3 week stretch, who's had 5 consecutive strong games. They just haven't got that from anyone. You would hope that Jeffrey Carroll maybe would be that player. You know, Mitchell Solomon's had solid play throughout, but he'll foul out every now and then. So there have been issues, I think, in that sense. But also when you look at it, the Big 12 schedule, like Barry just mentioned, all the games that they have left, you're not playing easy teams. Even Baylor was a team that's been ranked this season, a team that has obviously struggled in Big 12 play. But you're not facing any slouches on a Tuesday or Monday, Wednesday, Saturday night. You're going in facing some of the top teams in the country. You could argue that if Baylor's in a different conference, it might be well positioned to be in the NCAA tournament. Same could be true for OSU. But yeah, so you look at the competition you're going against inside, you know, every night, but also the energy in the arena. OSU really had trouble getting itself revved up Tuesday night and what was a pretty empty Gallagher-Iba arena. But then you look at the energy that was inside Allen Fieldhouse, and the Cowboys kind of lived up to that. So they need to find a way to kind of not depend on the crowd to bring them energy.
Barry, Nathan mentions the crowd, and a game after the Cowboys go to Allen Fieldhouse and get that big win, I thought we might see some residual in the stands. I thought we might see Cowboy fans, you know, coming out and saying, all right, we're behind you. Let's see what we can do here. It seemed like the opposite happened. They had a really abysmal crowd for that Tuesday night game against Baylor. It wasn't one of those super 6 o'clock early starts that people struggle to get done with work and get to Stillwater if they're in Oklahoma City or Tulsa. It was a 7 o'clock start. what do you chalk up the fact that we just haven't seen the fans coming out yet for these Cowboys?
Well, I mean, the OSU basketball fan base has eroded over the last decade, and you know, got some excitement going last season with Brad Underwood, but he leaves and you know, sort of slid back, and beating Kansas got everybody excited naturally, but you're not going to build back that fan base with an explosion, I don't think. I mean, I think it's going to have to come in increments. And you're right, the 7 o'clock, if you're going to play on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. is the perfect time to play. Coming off a big upset, you'd think that would be optimal situation for a good crowd. It wasn't. That just shows you that this is a long process in building back that Oklahoma State fan base. It's not going to happen in one season, not going to happen in two. It's going to take a long time to get that thing built back. Cowboys need to also play well at Gallagher. They have not played that well at Gallagher. Beat the Sooners there, nice win, but they've lost to West Virginia. They've lost to TCU. They've lost to now to Baylor. They've won to beat Texas with a great comeback and beat Iowa State in overtime. So, you know, they really have not been very dominant at home. When you go to Gallagher, there's not any kind of assurance that you're going to see a victory. That probably plays into it also.
Hey, Nathan, as you talked about the fact that the Cowboys are talking about being focused on trying to get to the NCAA tournament, but then have the opposite, the lack of focus, or you know, that lack of energy that you would think if they are talking about NCAA tournament hopes that would be there. Do you get the sense that there's frustration among coaches or some of the leaders on this team that, you know, they talk about these things, but then the results aren't there, the energy isn't there? I mean, we've had a couple instances where we've seen that come to pass. Do you get the sense that there's frustration building on this team at all about that?
I think the players are frustrated they're not playing better, but I don't know if anyone is necessarily frustrated at one another. I think there is a sense of we need to be playing better, we can be playing better. That's kind of been the expression that has been said, is we're capable. They know that they can do it. They're saying we're capable of winning. They saw it last Saturday at Allen Fieldhouse. So this is a team that is certainly capable of making a run here in these last 7 games, of going into the WVU Coliseum on Saturday and getting a win. But at the same time, there is frustrations that they aren't able to do that the focus isn't there. And it's something that really isn't easily explained. Why aren't they ready? Why aren't they invested? They just they're trying to figure out so many different things, and I think maybe the depth issue plays a part, as maybe there's just a certain mental and physical tiredness that's taking its toll. But yeah, this is a team that has the opportunity in front of it, and that's what's so frustrating. It was an opportunity lost on Tuesday. It was a game they should have won. A game that on paper, you know, they look like the favorites coming off playing at home, coming off that Kansas win, but it's an opportunity they let get away. And when you look at it, that was one of the 4 games you really penciled as this is one. When they need those 4 wins, that was one you really circled as this is one they should get.
Yeah, now when you think about it, they have to go to West Virginia this Saturday. And Nathan, I'm kind of curious how they're looking at this game. I mean, again, a road game. They're coming off having won at Allen Fieldhouse. You won't find any tougher confines, any tougher road environment. This is a West Virginia team. They've already played these guys. What's the feeling right now on this team as it relates to maybe trying to go and get one of those last 4 wins back?
Yeah, I think they're confident. I think they've done a good job of coming back from a loss and not letting one loss turn into another. The issue has really been coming off a win and then trying to carry that into the next game. But I think, you know, it's a game that they opened in Gallagher against West Virginia. It was a game that they were really in control of for the first 30 minutes or so, and just watched a talented West Virginia team take over. And they won it one on the road there last year. It's obviously a very different team. No Juwan Evans, no Phil Forte, but they're playing guys on this team who have the experience of winning in that arena, who know what it'll take, who played a well-played game here in GIA to start Big 12 play. So I think it's a confident group. A group that's looking to do what it did last week. You know, Tuesday, play a poor game against TCU, go to Allen Fieldhouse and win. Obviously, Tuesday's game was a disappointment against Baylor, so now they have an opportunity to make up for that on Saturday.
Yeah, and that West Virginia game earlier this year, guys, Barry, it was just a 6-point loss for the Cowboys, 85-79. Obviously, you know, earlier in the season when maybe some of these depth issues weren't as much of a concern. Tavares Shine's been missing now for a couple games for the Cowboys. Considering the results the last time these two played, do you see this as a winnable game, or do you feel like it's a pretty high bar to think Oklahoma State goes to Morgantown and beats the Mountaineers.
Well, it's a high bar, but I'll say this for the Cowboys. As disappointing as they've been at home, they've actually been interesting on the road. They win at Allen Fieldhouse. They had a big lead on Texas Tech and lost it down the stretch and, got beat, but really dominated Tech for a majority of that game. They go to Kansas State when the Wildcats were playing really well, and frankly, they're still a pretty good team, and that's an 86-82 game. So the Cowboys have played pretty good on the road. Led Baylor at halftime in Waco. So they've been about as good of a road team as they've been a home team. That gives them a puncher's chance in Morgantown. But I think West Virginia's pretty good. I think they've had a couple of games that they shouldn't have lost and did. They went to Norman and won last Monday. So it's going to be a monumental task to beat. This is a top 20 basketball team in West Virginia. But the Cowboys have proven to be a pretty decent road team.
All right, that tip-off on Saturday. It's an 11 o'clock start in Morgantown, an ESPN game. And then if you're looking a little bit ahead, next Wednesday, Cowboys are back home. It's a Valentine's night game. 6 o'clock start, as we mentioned, a tough start time for fans to get there. But 6 o'clock start, ESPNU against Kansas State. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.